Hello everyone. So in this video I basically want to explain very briefly how to create track skins. Okay, so this is a topic, track skins is something that, although it's very easy to do, and once you get the hang of things you can create the skin for a racetrack in less than 10 minutes. When you are creating your first skin, it may be very hard to know exactly what to do. There aren't many tutorials online on how to create track skins, and you may be a bit confused and a bit and just not being able to find the right information in order to create your first skin. So in this video, I'm simply going to explain very briefly how to do it. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to explain very briefly what we need. So we need, obviously, Content Manager for Assetto Corsa. If you don't have Content Manager, seriously, download it. It's unbelievable. And then we'll need an image editing tool such as Photoshop or GIMP. For this tutorial, I'm going to use GIMP because it's the free option. But if you have the money and want to use Photoshop, that's perfect. It works exactly on the same way. What you will need, however, as well as these editing tools, you will also need to install a plugin in order for GIMP or Photoshop to be able to import and export TDS files. Now, TDS files are the files that create the textures on Assetto Corsa, on many games really. And in order for you to be able to edit them in these tools, you need to install a plugin. Now, these plugins, don't worry, they are fully supported by the creators of GIMP and Adobe. And it's very easy to install. Just a quick Google search will show you what files you need to download. So I'm not gonna lose a lot of time on that. So let's get right into it. So now I'm gonna create an F1 themed skin for Barcelona. So what we want to do is, first of all, go to Content in Tracks, and now we have to find Barcelona. Here it is. And what we want to do is press this button called Skins, and this will appear, and you press Create a new one. Now we're gonna name it Skin. Very simple. And we have created the folder for our skin. Now, if we press folder, you will see what it is. So it's the root folder of Assetto Corsa, tracks, Barcelona in this case. And this folder called skins has been created. Content Manager skin, and this has been created. Now, one of the things that I recommend you to do is to introduce a preview. Now, as you can see, there's this image. It's broken image, really, and it doesn't look great. Thankfully, this is something we can solve extremely quickly. So for that, the only thing we need is an image, a PNG image with this name, preview.png. So we simply copy and paste it, and boom, we got a preview. How easy was that? And now what we are going to do is actually create the various textures for this track. Now, what we want to do is click Override Textures. Now, this will override all the textures on the track, all of them, from asphalt, grass, flags, everything. And what we want to do is select the ones we want to replace. Now, be very careful with this, okay? So the reason why I say this is because Assetto Corsa, especially when it comes to, for instance, things like walls, maybe you want to have a tire wall that has a certain sponsor on it, which is fair enough. Okay, that's something you may want to do. But you may find yourself having other walls that you don't want to edit with various logos, split, distorted, maybe even um, mirrored, So just be aware when you want to replace something like walls or something like um, tire walls, okay? Those textures are a bit harder to put logos. But for instance, in pretty much every single Assetto Corsa track, you will find a sponsors DDS file. So we'll select that. And in Barcelona, there's also the feature of the tower. Let's say we want to replace that as well. There's also this ground one, which we could replace. And I think that will be it. To be honest, once you get experience, it will be easier for you to see what you are editing when you select certain textures. But the first time, I recommend you simply to change the textures which already have logos and things on them. So once we are done, we will press overwrite. And if we go to the folder, as you can see now, there are these three files we have selected. And what we want to do now is go to the software. Now, we're going to do a couple of things. I'm going to add just three logos, one on each texture, just to show you how it goes. So when you import, make sure you don't load mip maps. Okay, make sure that's unticked. And we are in. Now, this logo is a very thick logo, and it's actually very big. As you can see, it's very tall, but at the same quite narrow. So let's say we want to put a Liqui Moly logo there. Liqui Moly is a Formula 1 sponsor. You may want to put that logo there. We simply import it. And this is tricky bit, okay? So now we have to make sure it fits this area. Not more, not less, this area. Now, what we want to do is see how tall and how wide this section is. Now, I can tell you how tall this is. This is a 512 pixels tall well, yeah, 512 pixels tall texture. And to know how wide it is, we can either start counting or trying to make your best estimation, or introduce a guide. Now, in this case, we want to introduce a vertical line, and we simply move it to right here. Now, the reason why I want to introduce this, and as a tip, always introduce one in the center horizontal, is because when you move at least in GIMP a texture, as you can see, it's always going to tend to get stuck to these lines. So that will help you a lot when you are creating text, when you are moving things around to make sure everything is centered and fits. So the next thing we're going to do is write the right dimensions. 512, that's how tall it is. And oh wait, oh wait, I know what I did. I wrote 512 width, not the height. So let's see, first of all, does it fit? The answer is no. So knowing that, what we want to do actually is fit the width, not the height. As you can see, that would be it. 680, I can tell you now. Make sure it's centered and clip in there. Okay. But now you may be thinking, well, how are you gonna do this once you import the texture? this will be yellow and I want it white. So first of all, select white here. Select the layer, the ground layer, the original layer, and select the area, and we're gonna paint it white. GIMP has this option, which you can fill it. Boom, that's it. Job done. Now, and select that. It's good. Now what we want to do, this is something which, if you're using GIMP, it's very important for you to know, is first of all, combine all of the layers you have created, and then make sure you click layer to the size of image. Now, that is because sometimes, especially with larger logos, a bit of the logo may stick out of the layer. The problem is if you don't do this last step, the entire layer will have a new size now, and when you import it into the game, everything will be distorted and wrong. Okay, so make sure you do that, right? So let's say we're done. We have done this texture. So now we simply press export. We overwrite the texture, and make sure you select generate map maps. Now, where is this gonna? I'm gonna start with that one, and we have created that texture. Now let's say we want to modify some of these textures. Okay, we're gonna import this, and that's in. And let's say we want to modify just two. Okay, we want to modify the Kuno Simulazioni logo banner, really. And then we want to modify the monster energy. Okay, those two. So first of all, we're gonna import the two logos that we want to use. So let's say for Monster Energy, we want another beverage, which is Heineken 00. You want an alcohol-free beverage. And for the Kunas one, you want a Pirelli one. Now, these textures or images, these are textures already because I've used them in previous skins for my tracks. But really, this is simply a PNG picture of the Pirelli logo. So it's been modified, and this is the same. It says DDS because I've already converted, but this was really downloaded from Google. Just a DDS image. The same here, for example, a PNG image. My bad, sorry. So now what we want to do is we're gonna focus first on the Pirelli one, okay? So again, we want to make sure, in this case, it looks like the limiting factor is gonna be the height. So we're gonna start downscaling. As you can see, it's the height, indeed. So now I'm gonna put it as well as I can on the center. There we go. And now what we have to do, and here you have to be very careful, is select the entire Kunas logo, like so. Select the sponsors layer. Well, first of all, before selecting the sponsors layer, go back to Pirelli and select the yellow from Pirelli. Okay. Now we go back to sponsors layer, and we're gonna fill that with the Pirelli yellow. And this is because of the same reason as before. As you can see, this looks a lot nicer than before, doesn't it? Of course it does. Okay. So that's one skin done. Now let's go to the other one. So we said we want to replace the Monster Energy logo with a Heineken logo because we prefer Heineken, for instance. I don't know. Okay, so again, same procedure as before. Now, you see here, we have a couple of options. So number one would be to fill this of yellow, sorry, of green. Okay, so we scale. Option 2 would be to center it and then fill not only one with yellow but the other one with blue, which is what we're gonna do. So we simply center this as good as well as we can. Okay, we select the sponsors layer. We create this rectangle. This one is gonna be filled with blue, like so. And now we're gonna select this one. And we're gonna fill that one with green. And like that, we are done. Let's say, obviously now you will usually want to continue with the rest of them, but I'm done. I really don't want to do more of them. Let's make sure this is centered properly. Let's say that's it. We don't want to do any more. Oh, for instance, there's one thing we want to do here. You can see this white little dot there, which looks really bad. So now we simply select the Heineken layer, which is the one where we have the white. Make sure you don't have a huge pencil. Make sure it's a small one, something which we can work with. And we simply make sure it's selected properly. We go to the Heineken one. And we simply go up, 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 up. And there you go. That's it. And we have no more, and there's no more white. Now, as before, combine downwards, layer to the size of the image, export as, replace, generate MIP maps, and we are done. And now we will go and test it. So what you want to do now is select the skin we have just created and enter a session. I'm gonna connect the steering wheel because I haven't connected it. I should have done this before. Anyway, so we connect. Steering wheel, we let it load. And it's loading, it's still loading. By the way, the choice of car, it was the first car I saw, so don't really focus on it. So now, for instance, I know where these logos are. So the Heineken logo, for instance, should be, we need to go back. I almost crashed. Wow, genius. So I know the Heineken logo, sorry, the newly created Heineken logo is here to the left. As you can see, this is where Monster Energy logos were, and now there are Heineken logos. And that's how it goes. Okay. And this is where the Pirelli logo is actually. Oh, you can see. Um, this texture is a very odd one because it has Heineken, then it has Pirelli. That's why I told you to make sure you know what logos are where. For instance, that Catalonia logo. That one is very easy to replace and very good to replace. I know the rack one has to be um around here. Hang on a second. Oh, here it is. Look at this. So there it is, liquid moly. So as I said, now ideally you would want to do this with all the things you would want to replace. So for instance, those arrows. Let's say you don't want those arrows and you want a Rolex logo. You replace that. The thing about walls, entire walls, is that if you replace one, you replace all of them across the track. So if you want to replace just here, for instance, you want to put a logo there, you're gonna put logos in every single entire wall that is on the track. So that's why um, I tell you just to be careful when you are creating those skins. Just be aware of what you're changing, basically. Make sure you don't change things that you don't want to change afterwards. Speaking of that, okay, so now we've seen the fat. Let's say, oh no, the the liquid moly logo that was before, I don't want to have it. I didn't like it. I prefer the rack logo that was before. As simple as removing, deleting. That's it. That's enough. And let's say, well, I want to have a Formula One skin, but let's say I want to do a race. I don't want my Formula One skin. Just simply unselect it. When you enter, you have Kunis's skin, and that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. Things about skins that you may be worried. Um, it doesn't affect online gaming. You can have skins while you play online. It doesn't cause any issues. Um, and yeah, really, that's the only warning I wanted to give you. Well, it's not a warning, actually. It's actually something good. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching.